When people ignore you, turn their backs on you, and leave you, and you end up feeling abandoned, there's this common school of thought that you should just let them go, move on. You see, that attitude actually has a tinge of bitterness and hurt lingering on in you. What I want to do is share with you some different perspectives on this topic so that you can end up really letting them go with peace within yourself and toward them. And I will also help you determine if there is any worth in fighting to keep them around. When people leave you, I don't want you to just prematurely conclude that it is their loss and they're going to regret it. Because guess what? It could actually be your loss. Many people will not teach you that, but I want you to truly understand this. You see, they have good intentions when they teach you to let them go, because what they're doing is really pumping you up to encourage you to get over those people who have abandoned you. But I really want to help you set your own self free within, whether or not you try to keep them around or you actually physically let them go. When people ignore you or forsake you or abandon you, I know it can be very painful. And it's for two major reasons this pain grows in you deeply. It is because, one, you became too attached, and two, you became too reliant and needy upon them. But in order to go past this pain, you have to first recognize and understand why it is they abandoned you. And this means you actually have to do some self examination without outer interference, without too many people telling you why, because they're going to conclude based on their experience. You have to determine this based on your experience, and therefore you will have to become very truthful with yourself. Now, in this situation, I'm not talking about parents who abandon their little children. I'm talking about us teenagers, uh, millennials, and all of us who are growing up and becoming adults. So, in order to do this self examination, one of the questions you're going to have to ask yourself while you're moaning and groaning over who has left you or who has ignored you is, what value do you really have to offer them that is something that they really want? This isn't just about what you want from them, but it is actually about what they can get from you. Do you realize what you need from these people? They don't really have it to give to you. And likewise, what they need, you are not satisfying it. And this is quite obvious because they are not around. They're ignoring you, they've left you, or they may pop up now and then, which may not be enough for you. Understand that whatever it is they want, they can't get it from you, so they're getting it elsewhere. You see, in life, people change and their needs change. And you may be the one changing, and they are not changing in that way also. So they may not actually be able to relate to you like they used to. Your values, your principles, and interests are no longer aligned. And so they have moved on, not to deliberately hurt you, but simply to satisfy their own needs elsewhere. I want you to truly understand this and get it. Accept it deep within and bless those people because they've served a wonderful purpose in your life while they were around. When you do that, then you're in a position to embrace them without bitterness whenever and if ever they pop up. You move on and start aligning yourself with those who have common interests and who are actually interested in you. Why waste time and energy on those who are not interested in you, even though they may actually be good people? These people who have left, who are ignoring you, whom you feel have abandoned you, they may actually be very good hearted people with good morals, not involved in crime or drugs. They may not really be vindictive people either. And this is something, when I experienced it for the first time, it was very difficult to accept because it was simply good people who walked out of my life. And some of them were part of my spiritual life. They're leaving, these type of good people, they're leaving and no longer interested in you. Do not make them bad people, just people with different interests. And when I came to terms with this, it became much easier to let them go lovingly and gratefully. And being very grateful that they were actually part of my life. I felt so blessed, that I said, God, you gave me such wonderful souls in my life for that period. And then when I had that gratitude in me and that understanding, it was so easy. I let them go peacefully within. Now, when it's not good people and they're vindictive people, it's much more difficult to let them go, to come to terms with it. Um, but just the fact that they're vindictive people and they're not nice people, that alone should make it quite easy to really bow at them and say, thank you, God, you released me from these kind of people. Another question to ask yourself when good people leave, or when anybody leaves you, is something wrong with me? Did I do something wrong? Because not always these people are going to reveal to you what is wrong. This is the perfect time and opportunity to fix it if there is something wrong in you. And I'll share with you a personal experience of mine to help you determine whether or not something is wrong in you. I was actually having an inner battle whereby I kept complaining and dumping on this person. Who wants to stay in that? That's not an inspiring place to be. So the person stopped returning my calls, was not responding to any of my text messages, ghosted and abandoned me during a very difficult time in my life. And this is someone whom I would speak with maybe 2 to 3 times per week. So I felt very cut off suddenly. And therefore, I ended up feeling hurt and broken because my narrative was I was there for that person during their difficult times. Now I need the person, and the person abandoned me. I felt very unsupported and a bit used. Then I reminded myself that this is something that the person has done repeatedly to other people. My pain was not merely because the person moved on beyond me, but basically how it was done. It was very deliberate, and I felt abandoned. It took me a long time to get over this simply because of my narrative. But I eventually got free of this person and their doing when, one, I saw very clearly that I had become a complainer to the person. I realized that the person didn't have the strength and spiritual maturity to help carry me through a difficult time in my life, even though I had it for that person. I turned my reliance instead toward God, and that is where I placed all my burdens. When I did that, I actually felt like a heavy burden lifted from my shoulders. And I know that if I were to meet that person uh, in the future, I would greet them lovingly from within my heart. But I'll be cautious and very careful, knowing what the person is capable of. This experience with this person also taught me that when God and life needs you to move beyond people because He has plans for you that do not involve them, but you keep holding on to them, He will use very harsh means to cut those ties off, as He did in my situation. You see, being ignored and feeling abandoned by someone whom I considered close was excruciatingly painful. But today, I can honestly say that I'm very grateful for that person turning their back on me, as it stirred up areas in my life that needed healing and restoration. And honestly, I am not sure if I would have taken um, a long, hard look at those areas otherwise. If you are carrying people, holding on to them, but God's intention is for you to fly high, and I don't mean on LSD, these people would actually be very heavy weight for you, dragging you down. You have to become lightweight, free like a bird, so that you can fly high. Some people can only carry you so far, and the higher you go, the more weight you must shed, the lighter you must become. And I want you to recognize this also, because you might also be heavyweight for those people who are ignoring you or who have left you. In other words, it works both ways, for you and for them. There may be other people God, life needs to bring into your life for your for your next stage in your journey. But if you're holding on to dead weight, then there is no space for the new people. So when people leave your life, bless them, thank them, and stay open to new possibilities. Do not block out what God has planned for you, for the new, by holding on unnecessarily to the old. Today, I can tell you that I still don't know why that person just turned away from my life. And it's not really important anymore for me. What's important for me is that I'm grateful for the person, for the time that person was in my life, because that person served a wonderful purpose. And what's also important to me is what I recognized in myself, the flaw that needed to be addressed and fixed. Now, I want to offer you a word of caution. There is a wide school of thought that those people who have ignored you and abandoned you, that they would regret it when you are flying high. And people tend to say that about people who have become very successful. If you become successful, then you want people to regret leaving you and turning their backs on you. To be honest, I don't want to do that. I think that's bad karma. I do not want you to make yourself feel good over somebody's regret because they walked out of your life. That is bad karma for you, okay? You are better than that. You are more elevated spiritually than that. If these people were to come back to you because you did not let them go with bitterness in you, but you've actually let them go with love and peace in your heart, if they were to come back, you would be able to help them, be of service to them, be kind to them, but detached within, because you are wiser and you're stronger. And this is good karma. And this is what I want you to understand, and this is what I want for you. Now, I want to help you recognize those people who have staying power, those people who are worth fighting for if you feel abandoned by them or ignored by them. You see, there are some people who may seem to ignore you, don't have time for you, which makes you feel deserted and abandoned, such as your family. And I'm going to share with you another personal experience. My sister, Dina, and I are very close. Now, she has a husband, she has her children, She has a dog, all of whom she must take care of. She has her health and well being to take care of, her spiritual life. She's a retired high school principal, and therefore now she is very much involved in community service. And she had some unexpected events that took up her time and required a lot of patience and endurance from her. Every weekend, my sister and I would actually do FaceTime because we live in different countries. But because of these unexpected events, that FaceTime got eliminated because the only time she was able to call or connect with me is late at night when I'm actually sleeping and in bed. Now, the first time I experienced a similar situation with my sister, um, I actually ended up feeling very shattered. So when this new situation came up, I decided I was not going to allow that to happen to me, to get into that emotional state. So I decided to stop and examine the situation and myself so I don't fall apart. You see, since childhood, my sister was everything to me. She was not only my sister, she was like a mother to me. So I was like a child to her, even into adulthood, without even realizing that is what I did. I came to realize that the first time around, when I got shattered, it was simply because I was still in that child position to my sister, wanting from her, needing from her, instead of being an equal adult with understanding for her situation. I was so concerned as a child about my own self. You see, by being a child, I became a victim and therefore a burden because of my needs. Seeing this of myself helped me to become the adult, growing up spiritually. And this allowed me to have a greater understanding of how overwhelming my sister's situation could be and how time consuming. It gave me the heart to know that not because our connection time got disrupted means our love is broken. Our love exists. Not because my sister's time is consumed with pressing matters make me less important. She just had to prioritize her time. And this is evident through history that I am important to her. All these realizations allowed me to not add to her burden, not pressure her to be in touch more regularly, but instead to be selfless and give her the time and space to deal with her situation without having to feel guilty about ignoring me, to not have unfair and unrealistic expectations of her. So I conclude my sister, Dina, has staying power because the trusting foundation is there historically. She has been there for me continuously throughout my lifetime. So there is no need to let her go. She's a keeper. If I were to let my sister go, I can guarantee you that it would be a great loss to me. It would be my loss, not her loss, my loss. Because I would be losing a loving, caring, and giving person in my life, a precious person. People may not be ignoring you intentionally or um, appear to have left you just to hurt you. They're probably just caught up in their own lives, their family life, and day to day issues, and they are actually entitled to take care of these. This may have nothing to do with you, and they may choose to use the little spare time they have to go on social media instead of connecting with you. Again, not meant to hurt you, but maybe just to entertain themselves, to relax themselves in some way, to get some kind of relief, not to have to deal with you, a needy person. Okay? So please free them, and free yourself. And this does not necessarily mean you have to cut them off physically. Just let them go within. Give them the opportunity to live the lives that they need to live and how they want to live it. Any reliance and dependency puts you in a victim position, a child position, due to neediness. Let me remind you that if you do not have what it takes to carry you through in a difficult situation, then do not be upset and disappointed when others abandon you, because they too don't have what it takes to carry you. They are in the same boat. Respect that. I want you to really ponder on this point. You can't carry you. They can't carry you. So who is going to carry you? You need to become an adult to people and a child of God, dependent on His strength, on His wisdom to carry you through your difficult times. When people ignore and abandon you, or don't have time for you, or cannot carry you, this is the opening that life has provided for you to develop a more intimate relationship with God, so you could rely on Him instead of running after people who have little or no real interest in you, and who are actually just trying to live their lives the way they want to. If you are very busy chasing after the presence of people, you would not be able to feel the presence of God in your life. And I can tell you, I speak from experience because I went through this for a number of years when I felt even God abandoned me. Something I always felt close to me. I always felt the presence of God with me. You see, during that wilderness period, what I did, I was so busy chasing after the presence of people, distraught when they left me, so I couldn't feel God's presence. When you turn to God, it is not just for you to complain about your problems and people like a child. Yes, you're a child of God, but even God wants you to grow up. Turn to Him with thanksgiving, for solutions, for directions, for His comfort. Trust and surrender, because He knows best. I will now leave you with these final words. God, life, have removed some people from your life for a reason, so don't go digging them back up. Let the karma end, otherwise you could be inviting in trouble, problems. Stop moaning and groaning over those who ignore you and have abandoned you. They are not doing the same for you, and therefore you are creating your own pain, not them. Do not discredit those people who have left you and who were a part of your life, as they served a great purpose while they were there, and an even greater one right now for not being there. Just look at the strength and the character that you are building within yourself. Look at the understanding you are gaining. Look at the peace you are creating within your heart. Know who to let go of. Let the relationship end. The unhealthy and limiting ones, the dead weights. And let go even of the good people who happen to now have different interests. Do not stay stuck where you are not wanted. Know who to keep, those who are worth fighting for, as in the case with my sister. Know who to invite back in. It must be done only in the right time, under the right circumstance. That is, you're well aligned with each other and you're both grown up. In other words, you're both spiritually mature. You have greater wisdom and understanding. Because when you invite them back, you must be able to do that detached within, knowing and understanding that people can change at any time. So in other words, be wise, grow up. When people are busy living their lives without you, learn to live yours joyfully without them. and appreciate those who are actually there right now with you. And stop stifling people and yourself by wanting them when they are clearly not interested in you. You would feel less burdened and you would be free to enjoy life. And this is quite liberating. And finally, I encourage you to use and direct your time and energy toward your life, to work on you, to transform, to heal and restore what needs to be restored. It's one of the reasons some people have to ignore you. It is what life is giving to you, time and energy to direct toward you, to build a solid relationship with God, and to be of loving service to those who are in need, so you can create some good karma and to be at peace within yourself.